Made with Spoken.
Talons in the Shadows. Oya's Season. This season is part of the Oya Warrior Goddess Lore Collection. For a deeper experience, stream the Cataclysm soundtrack available now at aliciamccalla.com. Episode 1. Chapter 1. I stood atop my sacred platform in the crossroads at midnight, the air rich with the scent of tangy ribs, the cinnamon of sweet potato pie, and the indulgent richness of double dark chocolate chip brownies. Ajay's way of honoring my favorites. Humans knew her as Big Mama, a title she wore like armor, hiding the ancient power she wielded. The Rib Shack was more than just a spot for soul food. It sat on a thin place on the edge of the liminal wall, a rift I'd sealed with my protective magic long ago. Only the newly dead, humans given my blessing, and gods or their descendants, Ajay, Kiran, and my chosen priestess, Tanika, could pass through. For mortals like Tanika, though, the visit could only ever be brief.
"You're quiet tonight, Great Mother."
Ajay's voice cut through the stillness, threading into my thoughts like the smoke from her ribs as they cooked on her side of the liminal wall in the human realm. Her presence was steady, as dependable as her offerings. The Rib Shack wasn't just a cover, it was her sanctuary, her altar, her domain, a spiritual stronghold protecting the thinned wall of the crossroads in a world teetering on the edge of chaos. "The city feels restless," I said, my gaze sweeping from the crossroads to the shimmering lights of Metronix. Ajay let out a soft hum, her knowing tone as thick and rich as the sauce she brushed over the ribs resting on her old cast-iron grill. In my divine sight, the flames below danced, their glow reflecting in her eyes like they carried the storms of the past.
"Restless? Or just loud? Humans got a way of drowning themselves in their own noise."
A faint smile tugged at my lips. "And yet you choose to live among them, hiding yourself as an old woman. Why?" She chuckled a low and knowing sound.
"Oh, that again? You've asked me this 100 times.
"And I've never gotten a satisfactory answer," I said, folding my arms and tilting my head even though, technically, she couldn't see me.
"Because they need someone who looks like them, not someone who scares the spirit out of them,"
she said.
"Besides, looking like this keeps them from asking too many questions. Let me be old, it suits me."
"It doesn't suit you," I laughed, "but it does work." Ajay turned her attention back to the ribs, brushing the last swipe of sauce with a deliberate grace.
"Humans are resourceful,"
she said, her tone shifting to one of reflection.
"They've survived worse storms than even you've thrown their way. Don't underestimate how far they'll go when they're backed into a corner."
Her words lingered in the air as I dropped the psychic connection, turning my focus back to the city. From my perch within the crossroads, I could feel the pulse of Metronix, its rhythm intertwined with my own essence. As a divine protector, every street, every building, every soul within its borders was tied to me. It was my duty, no, my calling, to watch over them, to ensure their safety in this chaotic world they called home. Closing my eyes, I extended my goddess vision, linking with the stone eyes of my largest statue atop the city's tallest skyscraper. Through this connection, Metronix unfolded before me in all its vibrant glory. The panoramic view stretched out, a pattern of life and energy. I could hear the distant buzz of traffic, the steady rhythm of the city's heartbeat, and the faint whispers of countless lives intertwining. But then again, the rhythm faltered. The air thickened. I automatically knew something wasn't right. A tension rolled through the city, like the first tremor before an earthquake. My emotions reacted instinctively. the clouds above Metronix shifting at my unspoken command. A gust of wind swept through the crossroads, disturbing the spirit lights that flickered within the clouds. Their ethereal glow mirrored my unease. I summoned my horsewhip, bracing against the storm that raged both within and without. The first tremor hit me like a gut punch, the air shifting from mild to electric. Thunder cracked, sharp and angry, as though the heavens themselves were outraged on my behalf. In all my centuries as the protector of this realm, I had never experienced anything like this. Chapter 2. The crossroads, my refuge, suddenly felt alien and hostile. I gripped the edge of my platform, trying to stabilize my balance as the world seemed to spin around me. I knew these unsettling pulses emanated from a new location on the outer edge, another spot where the barrier between realms was dangerously thin, a place I guarded vigilantly. Ajay, I said, my telepathic voice sharper now, cutting through the stillness. Do you feel that? She turned in my mind's eye, her eyes narrowing as the wind picked up around us.
I feel it. But what's more, whatever it is, it's coming closer. This isn't normal.
I said, protect the wall. Then, I closed our link as I steadied myself, resisting the second wave of sickness. But before I could regain my composure, a searing pain tore through my chest. It was as if 1,000 knives pierced my heart. I gasped, my eyes flying open in shock and horror. I staggered, the pain tearing me open, not my pain, but hers. Jacqueline, I screamed, her name ripped from me like a plea. One of my most loyal followers was unjustly put to death, without my knowledge. How was this possible? No! I screamed again, the sound of my own voice drowned by the roar of the wind. The injustice of her state-sanctioned murder shook me, and the clouds above Metronix swirled faster, echoing my fury. Her final cry resonated within me, a howl of despair that shook the crossroads. I had faced gods, storms, and death itself, but this, her cry pierced me in ways no battle ever had. It reminded me that even as a goddess, I could still feel powerless. Jacqueline's soul shimmered into view. Her voice, strained and trembling, carried over the roaring wind.
Great Mother, they blocked my prayers. I called for you, but they silenced me.
I stood frozen. My bond with my followers had never failed. I'd always believed my connection to my followers was unbreakable, a divine thread that no mortal could sever. My certainty had shattered tonight. How had I become this vulnerable? The question burned in my mind. I'm so sorry, I whispered, my heart breaking under the weight of her words.
Not your fault. They knew when and where to strike,
Jacqueline said, her eyes echoing the violence that had stolen her life.
Beware, they have cruel intentions.
Who? I asked, stepping forward. Doubts raced through my mind. I needed more answers. Jacqueline's eyes shifted past me, softening.
Is that my brother? My sister-in-law?
Jacqueline's soul flashed in and out.
I haven't seen them in so long.
She moved toward the horizon of the crossroads, but the barrier held her back, waiting for my permission, a thin shimmer of energy, rippling like water, keeping her tethered to me. Who did this? Tell me their names, I asked. Her form flickered, her light dimming further.
Please, let me go. I've missed them for so long.
Torn, I reached for her essence, holding it steady. My heart ached with the weight of her plea. If I let her cross, I would lose any chance to know more about what had happened to her and what danger threatened the crossroads. Yet, her pain was raw, a cry I could not ignore to someone who had devoted her life to justice. I whispered, my voice breaking, Who did this? I need to know. Jacqueline trembled, a fading light in the storm.
They intend to take over the crossroads, that's all I know.
She hesitated.
In the end, I made the sacrifice not for myself, but for my niece's safety.
Her words hung in the air. My hand wavered as I lifted my horsewhip to usher her soul onto the next realm, but I knew what I had to do. Go, child, I said finally, releasing the barrier. Her form passed as she slipped into the beyond. Then she whispered,
My Tia is all alone now, Great Mother. Promise me, keep her closer to you.
I promise, I said. As Jacqueline's light faded into the horizon, a knot tightened in my chest. I had failed my follower, not through lack of power, but lack of understanding. This was no ordinary threat.
Thank you.
Her voice carried on the wind, and then she was gone. How had they silenced Jacqueline's prayers? How had they severed my bond with her? Who was they? I said. Before I could make sense of her cryptic warning, another wave of agony struck me, sharper than the last. My knees buckled, and my vision fractured into shards of pain. Across Metronic City, I felt them. My followers, my children, snuffed out one by one. Each death tore at me, resounding through the crossroads, like the toll of a funeral bell. Each fatality resonated within me, a personal loss that shook me to my core. My children, I cried out. Chapter 3. I reached out desperately to intervene, but my powers felt as distant as the city itself. The view before me blurred, the once clear vision from my statue's eyes becoming a horrific display of fear and confusion. Their terror washed over me in waves. I sensed desperation, their silent pleas for help.
Great Mother, save us!
Their voices echoed in my mind.
Please!
Another voice begged.
We need you!
They were calling out to me, their protector, their guide. But I was powerless to stop the onslaught. I cannot reach you, I said. I cannot. I gripped the edge of my platform, my knees weak beneath me. My power had never failed me before, not like this. I had no answers, only the weight of failure and the growing fear that I might lose them all before I could make this right. Who is behind this? I demanded of the empty air. The crossroads trembled beneath my feet, its once steady energy fractured and waning. Above Metronix, the storm clouds churned darker, swallowing the city's light. The spirit lights flickered weakly, their glow all but consumed by shadow. The air hung heavy with despair and loss, the weight of each passing soul pressing harder against the fragile boundary between realms. I had heard thousands of prayers in my time, but tonight their voices weren't prayers, they were screams. And I could do nothing to stop them.
Oya, please help me!
A young woman's voice echoed in my mind, filled with panic. Then her hope was extinguished as she fell victim to a drive-by shooting.
I've believed in you all my life.
An elderly man's trembling voice reached out. The next, his decades of faith were rewarded with his demise in a brutal home invasion.
Mama? Daddy? Where are you?
A child's innocent cry pierced through the chaos. Barely old enough to understand her connection to me, she was caught in a fire that consumed her family's apartment. Their souls, distraught and frightened, extended out to me. They sought guidance, looking to cross the veil as they had always believed they would. But something was wrong. The paths were distorted, the usual routes disrupted by an unseen force.
Why can't I find my way?
A confused soul said.
It's so dark here!
Another cried out.
This feels wrong.
They were disoriented, some trapped between worlds, their panic and sorrow intensifying with each passing moment. I clenched my fists, my body shaking with a mixture of grief and rage. This cannot be, I said through gritted teeth. This isn't random. My voice rose, echoing through the spiritual realm. This must be a calculated attack, not just on my followers, but on me, on the very fabric of the balance I have sworn to protect. I doubled over, the pain in my chest intensifying with each passing moment. My powers, once a constant and reassuring presence, now felt like a flickering flame in a hurricane. I could sense them waning, slipping away as an unseen force ravaged my city and my people. Over 100 of my most loyal followers gone. Their lives were snuffed out in an instant. Their faith in me unable to protect them from this savage ambush. Each death reverberated within me, a sharp stab of agony that left me gasping for breath. My psychic link to Metronic City, once strong and vibrant, now felt strained. A dull ache spread through my body, replacing the warmth and energy that usually flowed through me. I tried to reach out, to sense the pulse of the streets and the heartbeat of my people, but it was like grasping at smoke. The familiar sense of the city shifted to damp earth and mildew, a sickening reminder of decay. Each lost soul weighed heavily upon me, their distress ringing in my mind. I wanted to scream, to rage against this injustice, but I was powerless to stop it. I couldn't even guide them. As I fought to maintain my bond to the city, I watched in horror as entire neighborhoods faded into shadow. The hum of life voices, music, even the distant rumble of traffic vanished, leaving an unnatural silence in their wake. It was as if someone had drawn a veil across my vision, leaving me blind to the happenings in those areas. The loss of divine sight was disorienting, like losing a part of myself. Episode 2, Chapter 4. That's enough. The sky roared with me, a choir of thunder and howling winds bowing to my fury. My words rippled through the crossroads like a divine decree, an undeniable force. Even the ground trembled beneath me, unsure if it should yield or stand strong in my wake. No mere spirit or human could challenge me this way. Some god must be declaring war. I swear on the winds of change, I said, gripping my horsewhip. The storm surged in response, as if summoned by my rage, like an army rallying behind its general. This city is mine. Its people are mine. If this was another god, if they dared challenge my dominion over Metronics, let them face me in battle. Lightning cracked, arcing across the sky, its light reflecting in the spirit lights below. The crossroads had been sacred for longer than memory, a realm untouched by divine quarrels. Yet now, this disturbance, this brazen act, carried the unmistakable scent of a rival's hand. The ground vibrated beneath my feet as the spirit lights flared, their flicker answering my rage. My power rose, fractured but unrelenting. I will stop you, and when I do, the storm will leave nothing standing in its wake. My voice was a war drum, a warning, a challenge. Whoever thought to test my dominion would soon regret it. No god or goddess, no rival force could shake my claim without consequence. You think you can break me, I carried on, the very air crackling as my wrath ignited it. But you've already made your first mistake. I allowed my anger to dissipate as more souls swamped the crossroads. There were so many, and Tanika's help ushering them through was sorely needed. I continued to work as quickly as I could. Hold steady, I commanded, gripping my horsewhip tightly, the golden energy sparking with each swing. The crossroads churned with disoriented souls, their cries battering my weakened state. Pain clawed at me, dragging me down, but I couldn't falter, not when so many depended on me. Spirits rushed past, their cries of confusion rising like a hurricane. I swung the whip in a controlled arc, its golden energy sparking through the chaos, guiding the lost toward the faint glimmer of the golden path.
What's happening?
A disembodied voice cried out.
Oh yeah, Great Mother, please save me. Tell me where I am supposed to go.
Another sobbed.
Help us, Divine Protector.
Another whispered, as if invoking my title would restore the faith I felt slipping away in this dark hour. I swung my horsewhip and used it to usher the wandering spirits as gently as I could, but I could barely handle so many. This way, I urged, gesturing. Follow the golden light. Tanika, I shouted, my voice hoarse and strained, holding back the alarm building within me. I need your help to guide these souls. Tanika, my devoted priestess and aide of the crossroads, had always been by my side in times of crisis. She had never failed me, not once. As a child, she had glimpsed the thin veil between worlds during a near-death experience, and since then, she had been my quiet helper, ushering spirits gently along their paths. Her absence now felt like the first crack in the foundation of my crossroads, a rift I couldn't ignore. It wasn't like her to abandon her duty. She took her work seriously. I said to myself, where is that girl?
Oya? Is that you, Great Mother?
A disoriented soul approached me.
I'm scared. What should I do?
The weight of the spirit's cries bore down on me, and without my full strength, I feared I might fail them all. I tried to mask my panic as I said, "Stay close, dear one. I'll help you find your way. Come now." I called to Tanika through our sacred connection. I needed her more than ever, but something seemed to block our link. The mental and physical silence that followed was deafening. As I struggled to focus, a faint, unfamiliar pulse thrummed in the distance, piercing through the cries of the lost souls. It was ghastly and twisted, like a dissonant heartbeat, disrupting the energy around me. Its rhythm felt foreign. I couldn't place it, but I knew it wasn't natural. A shiver ran through me. I wasn't certain, but something dreadful was seeping into the crossroads, corrupting the divine balance. I needed to find out what and fast. As I prepared to call out to Tanika again, to help usher the souls while I investigated that pulse, a familiar figure materialized before me. Chapter 5. Kieran, I said, relief washing over me before unease took hold. Where is Tanika? We need to manage this influx of souls. His hesitation was barely a breath, but I caught it. Kieran's eyes darted away from mine, his posture too still now, as if forcing himself not to react.
I'm not sure, Great Mother. I haven't seen her.
Lie. I stepped closer, watching him. His stance was wrong. He held himself as if the air around him was heavier, his weight shifting like he had to fight to keep upright. The strange thumping pulsed again. Was that from him? My stomach nodded. We must find her. I kept my voice level, though my mind churned. These souls need guidance. A wave of unease swept over me as I studied Kieran. His shadow shifted unnaturally, bending and warping in the flickering light. That faint, jagged pulse still throbbed in the distance, gnawing at the edges of the crossroads. Kieran's eyes looked away from mine, his posture stiff and tense. When he spoke, his voice carried an edge of hesitation that didn't belong. No rival deity could turn Kieran against me. Our bond ran too deep. But the stench of corruption radiating from him hinted at darker forces at work. A shadowy influence followed him, bringing to mind a long-buried memory I hadn't felt in over a century. A soul, Eleanor Fontaine had breached the crossroads in violation of its sacred laws, a soul unworthy of entry. She'd wronged too many. I used my powers to send her spirit back, casting her out and barring her from my domain. Her soul stank of a lifetime of unjust behavior. As her essence dissipated, she'd grabbed hold of the amulet around her neck and cursed me. The experience left a lingering warning in my memory, but I dismissed it. No single human could harm me. As the tension mounted, the air encircling us grew electric, and I felt a flicker of energy stir within me. Above, storm clouds began to gather, their charcoal masses swirling as if mirroring the turmoil within. A low rumble echoed across the crossroads, a reminder of the power I held, a warning to those who dared disturb the balance. The atmosphere reformed, thickening as an unsettling force filled the surroundings. Kieran shifted, avoiding my gaze. Every second you waste with these evasions, more souls slip into chaos, I said, thunder crackling overhead. Your presence has always steadied the crossroads. I stepped closer, the horrible scent rolling off him like waves. So tell me why it shudders at your presence now. The tension between us was a noticeable contrast to our typical easy conversations. I could sense there was more to Tanika's absence than Kieran was letting on, but the soreness and confusion from the attack left me battling to piece it all together. I turned my gaze back to Kieran, studying him more closely. Something was definitely off about his aura. The spirit lights reacted again. A golden path flickered out of existence for a heartbeat before returning, the edges hazy. No, that had never happened before. I turned back to Kieran, heart hammering. What are you hiding from me? He took a slow step closer, hands raised in a placating gesture.
You should rest. This experience has clearly taken a toll on you. Perhaps if you lie down for a moment.
The lights blinked out again. The golden path fluctuated, then dissolved. The soul closest to me gasped, their form glitching, words repeating like an echo caught in a loop.
Oh yeah, please. Tell me where I am supposed to go. Supposed to go.
I snapped my gaze back to Kieran, my voice cutting through his false calm like a blade. Regain my strength? Boy, do you hear yourself? My fury crackled in the air between us. The crossroads is crumbling under my feet. Souls are crying out to me. Tanika is missing, and you're standing here running your mouth like that's gonna fix any of it? I stepped closer, the storm stirring in response. If you know something, you better open your mouth and say it right now. Chapter 6. Every instinct screamed to cast him out, to protect my realm from whatever corruption had taken hold. But a millennia of trust wasn't so easily broken. I hoped this hesitation wouldn't cost me dearly. I knew Kieran wasn't being fully truthful with me, but I couldn't comprehend why. He had always been loyal, always been by my side. What could have changed? Where's Tanika? My voice grew firmer despite my weakened state. If she's in danger, I studied Kieran's face for any flicker of reaction. I know you'd move the heavens and earth to protect her. He hesitated, his eyes darting away from mine for a moment.
I'm not sure. As I said, I haven't laid my eyes on her.
My patience was gone, dead, buried, shattered. I stepped up, glare sharp enough to cut flesh from bone. Boy, don't test me today. The storm surged at my back. You can walk through realms like it's nothing. You talk to Tanika every day, so don't you dare stand here and act like you don't know where she is. I took another step, my voice dropping lower. You better say something real fast before I start pulling the truth out of you myself. I opened my mouth to press Kieran further, but before I could speak, an agonizing sting erupted in my temples. It felt as if needles were puncturing my skull. I gasped, clutching my head as everything around me blurred. The smell of burning sulfur attacked my senses, its disgusting odor overwhelming the usual scents of the crossroads. This wasn't just any disturbance. It was the unmistakable stench of cursed magic. Lightning flashed across the gloomy skies, splitting the clouds in jagged lines that mirrored the searing pain in my temples. Thunder followed a booming roar that shook the ground beneath me. I gritted my teeth, the storm raging above, my outrage echoing through the heavens. My head throbbed, each pulse sending waves of agony through my entire being. Through the haze of unpleasantness, I sensed it, a rupture forming. The thumping sound ripped through the fabric of reality, creating a rift, a breach where none should exist.
Great Mother.
Karen's voice sounded distant, muffled by the thundering in my ears. Karen reached for me but stopped, as if he had just realized something was deeply, terribly wrong.
Are you all right?
He asked, but his tone shook. I gritted my teeth, forcing myself to focus in spite of the splitting headache. I can feel it trying to tear through the veil, I said, my speech strained. Karen's brown face paled.
A breach? But, well, you shouldn't. You need to rest. You're in no condition to...
No, this is my domain. I will investigate, I said, straightening up despite the soreness. Cold sweat beaded on my brow, but I prepared myself against the discomfort. Whatever this is, I will fix it and deal with you later.
But...
Kiaran said as he raked his hands through his locks.
You're weakened. It's too dangerous. Please, let me go instead.
I shook my head, immediately regretting the motion as it sent fresh waves of pain through my skull. No, this is my responsibility. I left Karen and materialized deeper within the crossroads, at the growing fracture near a fragile section where the boundary between realms was weakest. My divine essence grappled with the corrupted energy swirling around me, the taste of brimstone intensifying on my tongue. What evil is this? My voice cut through the expanding shadows like lightning through storm clouds. Episode 3, Chapter 7. The crossroads rattled beneath my feet, the breach pulsing with an unnatural rhythm that mocked the steady heartbeat of my realm. Shadowy tendrils, demonic and claw-like, snaked along its edges. They latched onto the human side of the domain wall with a hunger that felt calculated, methodical, each touch leaving behind a trail of spreading corruption. I reached out with my powers, tracking the encroaching abomination. Though I couldn't directly affect the human world, I felt it. The essence of Metronic City unraveling, piece by piece, devoured by an expanding void. But this wasn't chaos. No. Chaos had wild edges, unpredictable and reckless. This was something else. Planned, measured, built. A metallic pulse vibrated through the rupture, making my gut tighten. That rhythm, it wasn't natural. It wasn't the erratic thrash of dark sorcery or the wild hunger of a cursed poltergeist. This was something precise, something designed. Show me, I commanded, unleashing my divine sight into the void. The truth hit me like a thunderbolt. The breach wasn't just an opening, it was a system, a structure of filaments, thin as wire, veined like living tissue, yet cold and rigid as iron. And beneath it, thinking. A newly arrived soul drifted too close. Before I could call out, the spirit's light flickered, colliding with the breach's unseen force. Not just corruption, not just shadow, something was scanning it, extracting, converting. A flicker of metal spined and shifting like living gears, emerged from the breach, tangling in the soul's light. The spirit spasmed, trapped in a silent cry as the filaments coiled, dissecting its essence. A diagnostic pulse flickered across the breach, then another. My stomach twisted. This was a machine's precision. I slashed my copper blade through the unnatural threads. Divine lightning crackled as the severed strands snapped back, retracting like cables into the void. The soul, already drained, let out a hollow cry before it collapsed, its light stolen. I drew my copper sword instinctively, its surface blazing with divine light. This single corrupted transition felt like a violation of everything sacred in my realm. "Be at peace," I whispered, sweeping my blade through the tormented spirit. Goddess energy pulsed, granting the soul a swift release before the corruption could take full hold. The taste of metal ash and rot coated my tongue as I watched its essence dissipate. Fury roared through me as I turned my gaze back to the breach. The metallic filaments flickered in and out of sight, not just phasing, reassembling, like a wound sealing itself, like something learning. My heart pounded. That wasn't just mindless hunger, that was deliberate processing. The breach pulsed again, but this time it responded to me. I froze. The filaments twitched, as if adjusting, learning. A whisper laced the air. Not words, a resonance. Not just malice, not just power. A curse stretched thin over something engineered. A chill curled through my spine. Curses do not evolve. Dark magic does not upgrade itself. But this had changed. A deep, thrumming pull yanked at the edges of my domain. The crossroads itself felt like it was being reformatted, its sacred energy being rewritten. I tightened my jaw, gripping my copper blade tighter. If one soul could be consumed, processed like data, what would happen if the breach fully ruptured? The thought made my blood burn. Chapter 8. Whatever was coming would transform the very nature of death itself. I refocused and tried to peer deeper through the breach, but it was like staring into a putrid void. My sight couldn't penetrate it, leaving me blind to what lay beyond. My fingers traced the edge of the breach, recoiling at its familiar yet twisted energy. My fingertips burned, not from magic, but from residue like that of an open circuit. Even wrathful gods respect the crossroads. This was something colder. The realization hit like a physical blow. That means the impossible truth began taking shape. This bore the signature of human ambition twisted into the unnatural. The methodical precision, the cold calculation. This wasn't divine power at all, but mortal ingenuity corrupted by evil purpose. This was humanity's arrogance given form, their desire to control death itself. The stench of generational hatred rose from the breach, and suddenly I was a century back, rewatching Eleanora Fontaine's Final Judgment. The memory struck with perfect clarity. Now that cursed amulet around her neck, its surface writhing like a disturbed pool. Even now, I could feel its echo pulsing through the breach. That same dark energy, but magnified 100-fold. The Veilstone's power had grown, fed by years of bitter purpose, transformed from a simple cursed object into something that could tear reality itself. I remembered more. Eleanor's hand lifted to it instinctively, her eyes blazing.
This is my Veilstone, a link to my blood, to my daughters, who will watch your judgment and remember every wound you've inflicted on me.
The breach in front of me pulsed with the bitter echo of Eleanor's last words, her spirit's twisted hatred.
My first child died because one of your followers didn't know what she was doing, and now you have denied me safe passage to balance this wrong. I deserve the peace of the crossroads. It is only fair and just.
I hesitated and closed my eyes going over this soul's life, then said, "You lost your way turning grief into cruelty. The crossroads has no place for those who harm others." The Veilstone pulsed as she spoke, as if they were connected. Her eyes, cold and accusing, burned with a haunted rage.
You think yourself just. You will see justice. My bloodline will make sure of it. My children will remember this denial, and they will repay you for what you've taken.
I cast her out. Eleanor's last words echoed as if etched into the air as the Veilstone's shadowy tendrils pulsed.
You will see the Fontaines again, Oya. My offspring will claim my justice for all that you and your followers stole from me. That is my curse on you. One day my descendants will take the power you've denied me.
Then, I wasn't worried, but now I stood frozen. A goddess should never feel powerless. I had dismissed Eleanora Fontaine a century ago, denied her entry to the crossroads, rejected her grievances, her bitterness, a simple judgment. But now her wrath lived on, sharpened into something far worse than a curse. A curse should not evolve. A curse should not be engineered. The weight of it pressed against me, not just the memory of Eleanora's hatred, but whatever new was woven into it. It was no longer just vengeance. It was ambition. The tendrils pulsed again, and for the first time in an eternity, I felt something close to fear. Had I underestimated the Fontaines? Had I underestimated mortals? No divine being would dare violate the sacred boundaries this way. That meant this wasn't just a curse anymore, it was a weapon, and someone was learning how to use it. As Eleanora's memory faded, I realized her heirs had spent a century proving me wrong, turning that single act of judgment into the foundation of something monstrous. Could it really be these mortals? The thought staggered me, yet I couldn't dismiss it. I had been searching for signs of divine interference, convinced only a god or goddess could attempt such a violation of the crossroads. But this breach, it reeked of human ambition, twisted by forbidden power. The Fontaines had found a way to harness something that should have been beyond their reach, and that made them far more dangerous than any celestial enemy. Chapter 9. I stiffened as another piece clicked into place. The energy signature pulsing from the breach. I knew exactly what it was about. The Veilstone's corruption had grown grotesque with time and a targeted dark purpose. What had been a simple cursed amulet a century ago had become a key to violating the very barriers between life and death. Of course, how had I not recognized it sooner? Was it one of her heirs who had seen Eleanora's dismissal from the crossroads and misunderstood what they saw? I focused on the Veilstone amulet's energy pulsing from the breach, sensing Eleanora's hatred. Yet, there was something more. This darkness felt strangely methodical, as if guiding her bloodline's rage with a precision that was external. The amulet's energy had gained new, invasive depth beyond mortal vengeance. I couldn't shake the suspicion that another hand twisted the Fontaine's grudge, a force lurking just out of reach. I had dismissed the Veilstone as a petty tool of no consequence, its influence easily blocked by my power. But now, with my strength waning, its limitations were no longer enough to protect me from its prying claws. The breach pulsed again, and I felt its calculated power recalibrating the seam like targeting software. A hellish mechanical tendril moved, processing. Eerie sounds boomed. It was trying to puncture through the liminal wall. As I prepared to channel my power into sealing the rift tighter, a sudden gust of wind knocked me back a step. The breach was fighting against me, its grotesque power lashing out like talons in the shadows. I planted my feet firm on the ground. The headache intensified, threatening to split my head, but I couldn't give in to the pain. Too much was at stake. I focused all my concentration on the task on containing the threat before it could spread further. I sensed a presence materializing beside me and turned to see Kieran, his face etched with concern. But something continued to be off. The air around him crackled with an energy that set my nerves on edge.
You must stop.
Kieran pleaded, his voice strained.
You're too weak. This will tear you apart.
I narrowed my eyes, studying him. Strange, I said, my voice rolling like distant thunder. First, you knowingly allow this breach to seep into my realm, and now you claim to care for my well-being? He moved back from me as if I'd hit him, a flicker of guilt crossing his features. Don't. The air crackled with my rising anger. I can smell their corruption on you, the same that pours from this breach.
Please.
He whispered, backing away.
You don't understand.
Understand what? My voice echoed through the crossroads. Kieran flinched. A fraction of a second. A blink too long before his mask slid back into place. I stepped closer, the air tightening between us. You smell of it, I said. The mechanical rot. Kieran's hands trembled. His golden eyes swirled with a sickly, dull shadow.
I just...
He swallowed hard.
You're exhausted. This isn't working. You should stop before it's too late.
Thunder rolled overhead, a mirror to the storm tightening inside me. I took a step closer, my voice low but edged with lightning. And you don't think it's too late for you now? Kieran shrank back. You have stood beside me for centuries, I continued, watching his breath quicken. We have fought gods and goddesses together, and yet you speak as if I am the one who does not understand what is coming. His jaw tensed, a crack in the mask. Son, you have one final chance, I said, my voice rolling through the crossroads like the first tremor before a storm splits the sky. Tell me the truth or suffer the consequences. Kieran's breath hitched. I lifted my hand. Divine energy crackled, wrapping around him like an unseen storm. His feet left the ground, his body suspended in the charged air between us. His celestial markings flickered weakly as he struggled against my power.
Great Mother, please.
He choked out. The truth. Thunder punctuated my demand, shaking the very foundations of the crossroads. His eyes widened at my words, the last of his deception crumbling. Terror replaced the guilt in his expression as he realized I'd pieced it together. The air around him grew thick with the stench of his betrayal.
If I talk, there may be consequences.
His voice sounded strangled. Chapter 10. I exhaled, slow and deliberate. You already have. The wind shifted as I considered killing him. My mind began to piece it together. The rot on him, the filth of the breach, the stain of the Fontaine's vendetta was soaked into his very essence, but it was not their mark alone. No, not ancient but constructed. I had not thought of them as a threat to me, but it had to be them. They didn't worship the supernatural. They dissected it, manipulated it, repurposed it. A crime syndicate determined to harness the divine. I turned away, my gaze locking on the pulsing wound in the crossroads as it fought against my will like a living thing. I said, the Iron Talon. The name slid into my thoughts, like a blade between ribs. The crime syndicate that had long craved dominion over life and death. And then, Eleonora's voice echoed from the past, laced with bitterness.
One day my bloodline will reclaim what you took.
The Fontaines had always been ghosts, clawing at a door too heavy for mortals to move, but with Iron Talon at their side, understanding settled in my bones. They had not done this alone, and Kieran, he was the final piece. I turned back to him. His skin glistened with sweat as I squeezed his frame. "You reek of them," I said, my voice cutting through the silence like the edge of my blade. Kieran stiffened, choking.
No.
"Then why does the breach match the pulse in your body?" I tightened my grip, pulling him closer, forcing my sight deeper. That was not his heartbeat. Beneath the skin, just under the left side of his chest, something pulsed, a dark, jagged rhythm, off-tempo, mechanical. A pattern, not a pulse. Not beating, processing. The Iron Talon. My stomach dropped. They had marked him, they had invaded him, and he had let them. The divine energy around my fingers flared. "You let them inside my realm." Karan gasped. His body seized for an instant, his hand clawing at his ribs, an unconscious reaction, as if he could feel the thing embedded there, pressing against his own will. I turned my gaze back to Kieran, my fury rising like a tide.
They have my heart! They have my Tawny!
The storm screamed, the crossroads lurched beneath us, the breach pulsing in victory. I dropped him on the ground. I stared at him, breath caught in my chest. Tanika, my priestess, held hostage without my knowledge? I had been so focused on the spirits, the breach and the Fontaines. So focused on the Iron Talon. I had not seen this claw pressed to my throat. Karen's face contorted in regret as he stood weakly.
They swore they wouldn't hurt her.
My fury broke free because I couldn't protect them both. "You bartered with them and didn't tell me." The storm exploded, wind snapping against him like a whip. "And you gave them divine passage." Kieran fell to his knees, his golden eyes wide.
I thought.
He choked on the words, guilt and centuries of loyalty crumbling in his features.
I thought I could save her before they entered the crossroads.
The breath left my lungs, bitter as betrayal.
They promised it wouldn't be immediate,
he whispered, but even he didn't believe their lies anymore. Episode 4, Chapter 11. The air turned frigid, crystallizing my breath into silver clouds. Somewhere behind me, Kieran still knelt on the crossroads floor, silent. His hands trembled against his thighs, his golden markings dimmed, blinking, unsteady. His sharp intake of breath echoed as the souls began to move. He knew what was coming. He had helped make this possible. I didn't have time to deal with him. Not now, not in the middle of this. The temperature dropped so suddenly, it felt like stepping into an industrial freezer. Silence fell, but not a natural one. Something had shifted. I turned slowly, my stomach twisting. The souls, the newly arrived dead, the ones meant to drift toward the crossroads had stopped crying. They were watching. Their forms flickered, but not with the gentle glow of spirits passing on. Instead, they glitched, fracturing and reforming. An unseen force was reconstructing them. Their eyes too empty, too fixed on me. A child's voice broke through the static, distorted like corrupted audio.
"Why aren't you helping me?"
She twitched forward in sharp, unnatural jerks, like a marionette caught in broken strings. Her honey-brown skin flickered, shifting between solid and translucent as if reality couldn't decide whether she belonged. Her big, round eyes, the deep, searching kind that children have when they expect the world to be fair, were wrong. Too dark, too hollow, like someone had scooped the light out of them and left only an endless void. Her afro puffs, neatly parted, now pulsed with static, the coily curls unraveling and reforming in faulty broken waves. Her bangs with white beads clacked against each other, threading through the uneven strands at the front of her face. But some beads hovered an inch away, suspended in a frozen glitch, as if time had lost its grip on them. Her mouth lagged behind her words, stretching too wide, then snapping shut too fast, as if she were buffering through different realities, trying to find the right expression. She took another jerky step forward, her small fingers twisting at impossible angles, rotating like they were searching for a grip that wasn't there. The click, click, click of her disjointed joints echoed in the air, a sound that did not belong to the dead. She should not be like this, and yet she was. She opened her mouth again, but the words didn't match the movement.
Why aren't you doing anything?
A faint click, a rhythmic pulse, not just silence, not just death. The child's head tilted, too smooth, too precise.
Can't you hear it?
The pulse quickened, a shudder, a snap.
They said I'd reach the other side faster if I stopped waiting for you.
A jagged inhale, too sharp, too wrong. Then, softer, almost pleading.
Why didn't you save me?
Her eyes flickered, not blinking, sinking. The child's voice climbed, then warped into a sing-song lilt curling at the edges.
Why? Aren't you helping us?
Many more voices, the tone shifting, no longer pleading, demanding. A man stepped forward, his dark brown skin flickering, his once smooth, mellow presence twisted into brokenness. His fedora sat crooked on his head, tilting with each spasm, the brim shuddering in and out of focus like a warped memory. His jaw clicked open on invisible gears, the motion lagging, then snapping into place, too wide, too forced, as if his body no longer remembered how to move with ease. His voice, once the calm, steady tone of a man who'd seen it all, now came fractured, disjointed, as if spoken through cracked vinyl.
You left us.
A middle-aged woman twitched violently, her long blonde hair frizzing at the edges, caught in a loop of glitching strands. Her blue eyes, once bright, now swirled with static, flickering between terror and accusation. She wore a loose, earth-toned sweater, but the fabric rippled unnaturally, shifting like it couldn't decide what it was made of. Her neck snapped too far to one side, her jaw unhinging, hanging loose like a puppet with cut strings.
You let us die.
A pressure slammed into my chest. Not lost souls, not spirits. Something had taken them and warped them. When I reached for their names, there was nothing, only static. The breach had severed our connection and infected the dead. My fingers curled, instinct reaching for my horsewhip. The easiest thing to do, the right thing, would be to banish them. Chapter 12. One word, one strike of divine energy. I could cast them out. I raised my free hand, calling on the power to send them away. Spirits of the dead, I commanded, divine energy crackling in my palm. I raised my hand, my words laced with power. I ban. The child's mouth split into a jagged grin. Too wide, too wrong. Then a blink, a flicker.
Send us where?
She said. The glitching static shuddered, and in its place, a real child stood trembling, eyes wide, scared and lost. The hollow darkness in her pupils melted into the rich round brown of someone's baby girl. She reached for me.
Please, Great Mother, save me.
She pleaded, voice small, very human. My throat tightened. My power hovered at my fingertips, poised to strike. But I couldn't, not like this. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I stopped. This would force them beyond the crossroads where darkness could continue controlling them, beyond the grave and servitude. I couldn't do that. These were innocents. The crossroads shuddered in response to my hesitation, the air crackling with energy. Instead, I swung my horsewhip towards them. The ghosts flinched, but they didn't scatter. Behind me, Kieran staggered to his feet, his breathing ragged. I felt his hesitation before I saw it. He lifted his hands, his fingers twitching toward his weapon, but he didn't move. He just stood there, watching as the souls twisted in agony. One of the corrupted spirits turned toward him, its fragmented voice glitching.
You!
It said, head tilting in jagged, unnatural movements.
You belong with us.
Kieran took a step back, his whole body tensing. I saw it then, the sick realization sinking into his bones. But still, he did nothing. Move, boy, or get out of my sight, I snapped, striking down another corrupted soul with a crack of my horsewhip. If you can't fight, then at least don't stand there like a damn monument to your own failure. His breath hitched. I saw it. The way his fists clenched at his sides, trembling, as if he wanted to move, as if he wanted to fight. But he didn't. What? And now you stand there, waiting for me to fix it. My voice cut through the air like a blade. I swung my horsewhip again, shattering the next wraith before it could lunge at me. Fight or be silent in your shame. For a split second, I thought my words might shake him loose. But then, a pulse. Not from the breach, from him. The same sickly rhythm, mechanical and deliberate. His chest tightened as if something was clawing at him from the inside.
You think I don't want to?
His voice was hoarse, strained. He was breathing hard now, his hands trembling at his sides. Not in fear, in restraint.
They said if I fought by your side, she'd die.
The breath caught in my throat.
If I lift a hand against them, if I so much as move to help you.
His words strangled off. He clutched his chest, fingers curling against his ribs.
They'll kill her. They'll kill Tani.
And you believe them? My voice was deadly quiet.
I couldn't take the chance,
he said. But the way his golden eyes wavered, the way his body seized like something was breaking inside him, told me the truth. He knew. He knew they had already broken their word. He knew she had to be suffering. A mechanical tremor rolled through the crossroads. The ghosts twitched in unison, their corrupted bodies stuttering, sinking like the breach itself had been listening. Then, all at once, they turned toward me. I barely had time to raise my whip before they lunged. The ghosts all glitched, their forms flickering, breaking apart, then pulling back together. The corruption resisted, holding them in place. No, not the corruption. The souls were resisting me. Their eyes locked onto mine. Their mouths moved out of sync with their words.
You left us behind.
My breath caught. I should do it. I could end this now. And yet, I hesitated again. Because beneath the corruption, beneath the wrongness, I still felt them. They were still souls, still clinging to the last shreds of what they had been. The choice burned through me. I could banish them and be done with it. Chapter 13. Or I could find another way. One path was easier. One path was right. But which was which? My hand trembled at my side.
Oya.
The child's voice had changed. The distortion flickered for half a second, and in its place, a real voice, small, scared. The ghost lunged. I moved fast. My horsewhip snapped through the air, golden energy sparking as it cut through the first ghost. The child screamed, but the sound was wrong, not pain, relief. Her body flickered, something breaking inside her. Light pushed through the corruption, her edges shifting, struggling against the hold of the breach. Another one charged from the side, its arms stretched too long, joints bending backward like a broken insect. I swung again, my whip cracking through its chest, sending shattered fragments of darkness spiraling into the void. From the corner of my eye, I saw Kieran stumble backward, his hands shaking as he recognized faces among the corrupted, people whose deaths his betrayal had enabled. His remaining divine markings flickered weakly, unable to help. The breach twitched, as if feeling my strikes. It's watching. The thought burned through me, but I had no time to dwell on it. Another spirit glitched beside me, its form rewinding, arms reaching before suddenly snapping back as if reality had corrected itself. I struck fast, my whip curling through the air, my divine power searing through the corruption like a cleansing storm. They faltered. They weren't immune to my power, but they weren't falling apart completely either. For every strike that freed one, another twisted deeper into the wound. If I kept fighting, I could break them all apart, or I could reach for them. A sharp inhale, I made my choice. I stepped into the chaos, dropping my guard just enough to reach out. My fingers brushed the shoulder of the old man with the fedora hat whose jaw had snapped open like a broken doll. "You can let go," I said. He shuddered. His form twitched, breaking apart, then coming back together. The wrongness resisted, but the soul inside fought harder. I placed my palm over his forehead. "Be free." A burst of light and he was gone. Then, like a whisper through the storm, I heard it. Their names. The old man's name was Fedarius Epps, a jazz musician. Then the blonde-haired woman with inset blue eyes. Her name was Brittany Ann. A flood rushing over me like rain after drought. Idris, Yolanda, Dee Dee, Cliff, Miss Sadie, who always left coins at my shrine. I had known them. They had called to me in life, and I had failed to hear them in death. "I see you now," I said, my voice thick. For every name, a face. For every face, a history. Their hands, their prayers, their last thoughts before the corruption took them. I reached for them. I pulled them back. One by one, their forms flickered, twisted bodies unraveling into golden dust. And then the last one, Jamisha, little Misha with her afro puffs, who giggled when her Dada called her his starshine. She stood at the edge of the breach, flickering between shadow and light, small, still trembling. But her eyes were whole again. I knelt, breath unsteady. "Baby girl." Her lips wobbled, her tiny hands clenched into fists. Then she ran forward and wrapped her arms around me.
"I forgive you, Great Mother."
My throat closed. I held her tight as her form shimmered, warmth replacing the cold emptiness. Then she was gone. The breach pulsed, slow and deliberate. Watching, learning, waiting. And I knew then, next time, it wouldn't go so easily. As I caught my breath, my heart clenched with sudden terror. "Tanika," I said, worry for my priestess flooding through me. What might be happening to her? I rose. The breach pulsed in the distance, its unholy rhythm a constant reminder of the invading force. I approached with caution, each step measured and deliberate. The jagged tear in reality loomed before me, damage to the liminal space that should never have existed. This area had always had the thinnest barrier between realms, but now that delicate balance was shattered. "No, no, no," I said. "This can't be." My eyes were drawn to a growing spot at the center of the breach. It pulsated, each disturbing beat sending waves of nausea through my body. I continued my approach. Chapter 14. "By all that is sacred," I said, covering my nose with my hand. The odor was beyond anything I'd encountered in my long existence. It spoke of rot, of life warped into perversion. What is that? I took another step closer, my eyes watering. The dark spot shifted, a spasm of movement catching my eye as if it were responding to my presence. No, as if something inside it was straining to emerge. My eyes widened as a shape began to coalesce within the heart of the breach. At first, it was just a blur, a mass of moving vibrations. But then, slowly, it took on the form of a human silhouette, bound and suspended, limbs contorted as though in silent agony. The realization struck me like a physical blow, stealing my breath. Suspended in the horrifying darkness was a sight that turned my divine blood to ice. I saw her face, Tanika's face, twisted in silent agony. No, the word escaped barely audible, but it carried the weight of failure. My priestess hung trapped within a void that should never have existed.
Tani!
Kiran's anguished cry cut through the air as her tortured form became visible. He lurched forward, but collapsed to his knees. The mechanical implant in his chest pulsing painfully, holding him back. His betrayal had bought her nothing but more suffering. Thin glowing filaments coiled around Tanika's arms and throat, burrowing into her flesh like living wires. The breach throbbed in sync with her heartbeat, sinking her essence into its corrupted rhythm. Her breath came in ragged bursts, her soul caught in a loop. Read, erased, rewritten. She flickered like a buffering signal, her presence translated into code, fragmented piece by piece. The Iron Talon wasn't just holding her, they were harvesting her, siphoning her life force like stolen data, repurposing her existence into something unnatural. Her body convulsed, veins of metallic light threading beneath her skin, rewriting her, forcing her into the machine, a conduit between the living and the void. I stepped forward, rage burning in my gut. Hold on. For a moment, the world pulsed with an unfamiliar resonance, not a natural frequency, but a manufactured one. A sharp click, like a microphone switching on. Then, a faint hum, metallic, distorted threading into the crossroads itself. The air rippled, warping under the weight of something unseen. A forced connection, another violation. I stiffened. The sound crackled, then her voice. But not like before.
Oya.
Tanika's voice came through, glitching, stretched thin like a broadcast caught between frequencies. Wrong, controlled.
They're too strong.
Her words lagged, replaying like corrupted data.
I tried to...
Another click. Her voice cut off mid-syllable. And then a female voice took over, smooth but aristocratic as it amplified through Veilstone-powered technology. Karen's face drained of color, his body trembling as he recognized the woman who held both his heart and power hostage.
No.
He said.
Please, no.
The crossroads vibrated as if the breach itself was speaking.
Ah, the useless storm witch. You finally understand.
The words echoed through the stolen space, vibrating like an aftershock of a storm long past.
You are always so loud with your false thunder. Flash, but no fire. Lightning with no bite. All that rage, and yet, nothing, ever, changes.
Episode 5, Chapter 15.
We thought it was only fair.
Eleanor's descendant's voice rang within the crossroads.
To let you hear her, to let you know what you're about to lose. You still think sitting on the sidelines is helping your cause?
I narrowed my gaze into the breach, my voice a razor's edge. I cast out your ancestor because she was unworthy of the crossroads. Do you think being a part of her bloodline changes that? The air crackled. A sharp, mocking laugh pulsed through the void.
Perhaps not, you short-sighted storm witch,
The voice said.
but a bird of prey learns patience when denied its feast. My name is Isabel Fontaine, by the way, just so you know which one of Eleonora's descendants took you down.
Isabel's silhouette image transmitted across the breached wall, veiled in black robes edged with silver and blood-red embroidery. The beak of her mask gleamed like a hooked talon, her crimson eyes sharp, studying, waiting.
But you can call me the sovereign of the Iron Talon.
At her chest, the veilstone pulsed with stolen power. Eleanor's curse lived inside that stone. I felt it whisper, scraping at the edges of my mind. Tanika screamed through the veilstone's amplifier. The shadows around her liquefied, shifting unnaturally. "Hold on, my child," I said, my divine essence pressing against the corrupted force. A fragile response came, weak.
I can't hold on much longer.
Such devotion,
Isabel said.
But how much longer do you think she can withstand this? You have a choice to make.
I have a choice? I said. Surely you are joking. Release my priestess now or suffer my wrath. My fury sharpened. The sky churned in response. Thunder cracked. The wind howled. The breach trembled under my storm's growing strength. Isabel's smile deepened beneath her mask.
I think not.
A sigil in Isabel's palm pulsed. Tanika's back arched violently. The breach twisted around her, sinking its filaments deeper. This time, she screamed out loud. The sound tore through me like a blade. I lunged forward, throwing every ounce of my will into the storm. I was going to rip Tanika from the breach. The words of an ancient incantation ripped from my throat, each syllable crackling with divine energy. Power of heaven, power of earth, let my strength endure. Wind lashed at the breach, trying to wrap around Tanika, but for every tendril of my storm, talons of darkness slashed through my efforts.
Your barriers have been impressive.
Isabel's voice slid through the storm, cold and amused.
But did you really think your divine wards alone could keep a Fontaine out forever?
The veilstone pulsed. The breach's energy surged. Tanika screamed again. I felt her pain as if it were my own. My heart shattered.
Such a loyal priestess,
Isabel continued.
She held on to her faith in you and your love for so long. It was almost admirable.
I dug in. The crossroads surged under my will. The wind sharpened to a razor's edge. The air itself hummed with power. I planted my feet, feeling the ancient magic of this place surge through me. "I'll free you," I roared, my storm straining against the breach. I reached for her. A cyclone of divine energy surged forward, fighting through the corruption, and then I felt the retaliation. No, it wasn't from the breach. I sensed it before I saw it, a force I should have known and anticipated. The moment I turned, pain erupted through my chest, white-hot, piercing, violent. The storm around me fractured. My body convulsed, racked by a force that was technology, mortal and divine. Lightning, but not mine. The taste of burned ozone filled my mouth, bitter, acidic, and wrong. I staggered, divine energy bleeding from me like water spilling from a shattered clay pot. I turned. Kieran! His golden skin glowed, but the light was wrong. Red tinged its edges, tainted, crackling with something ancient and corrupted. "Son?" My voice cracked. Disbelief strangled me. His eyes, once bright, once filled with the brilliance of the storm, were dull now, lackluster and rimmed in shadow. "No, just no," I thought.
I told you, Great Mother.
He said, voice tight.
Tanika is everything to me.
Chapter 16. Isabel laughed. The sound was slow, deliberate.
Oh yeah. I expected thunder. I expected rage. You didn't even consider that I wasn't talking to you, but I never expected you to be this blind.
Her words settled in a dramatic pause. Then, almost offhandedly,
You have 45 minutes before I switch tactics.
the breath left me. This level of betrayal hit deeper than any wound. My voice cracked. What have you done? You've traded a part of your divine spark to the iron talon. Kieran lifted his palm again, lightning curling in his grip. His face held no hesitation now, no flicker of doubt, no turning back.
You always said, storms break what needs breaking.
His voice was steady, steady like a drumbeat, steady like the sky before it splits open with wrath.
Then hear me, Great Mother. If you don't take the wall down, I will tear you apart piece by piece, and when I'm done, not even the wind will remember your name.
The countdown sigil flared behind him. I forced myself upright, every breath a war against the fire raging in my chest. My divine energy surged, fractured, sluggish, wrong. No, not just wrong, tainted. I called the wind and it answered, but instead of surging around me, it flickered, erratic. It hesitated. The crossroads had never hesitated before. What did he do to me? Kieran stepped forward, lightning still curling around his hands. But this wasn't just Sean Go's gift anymore. It was engineered.
You always told me storms can't be controlled,
He said.
But I've learned, Mother.
And then lightning struck me again, not to wound, to sink into me, to change me. It burned deeper than flesh, deeper than bone into my essence, my storm. My body buckled, caving in. The storm was still in me, but something else was in me too. It didn't steal my power. It didn't silence me. It just bent the wind at an angle I couldn't control. I couldn't fight, and I couldn't deal with what that meant yet. The crossroads shuddered, not from the storm, not from the breach, but from something else. The scent of roasted cinnamon and sweet citrus filled the air, cutting through the sharp tang of ozone and metal. Kieran tensed as a ripple of power spread through the space. It wasn't wind, it was older, heavy. Something that settled into the bones like a memory that had always been there, waiting to be recalled. Then a voice smooth as oil over steel.
Great Mother, I hadn't heard from you, and now I see why.
A pause. The air thickened.
This young one is up to no good.
Ajay stepped forward, her presence bending the crossroads around her.
That's enough, little boy.
Kieran turned, eyes narrowing, but his stance faltered for half a breath. His mind struggled to make sense of what he saw. Ajay wasn't the woman Kieran remembered. She was the woman I remembered when we were both young. In the human world, she wore time like a cloak. But the crossroads didn't allow illusions. Here, truth lived in the air, carved into the bones of those who walked it. And the truth of Ajay? She had never been fragile, never been small. Kieran had only ever seen her through human eyes. Now, he saw what I had always known. Ajay with no gray curls, no fake lines of time carving her face. Her skin gleamed with a rich, sun-kissed glow. Her hair, once streaked with age, coiled in thick black ropes, adorned with gold rings that hummed with energy. She moved with the surety of someone who had never known weakness, never tasted hesitation. A true daughter of Oshun, and my adopted daughter and my best friend. At her hip, a gleaming cleaver rested, a weapon stained with the blood of things long forgotten by mortals. In her other hand, a pulse of raw, unshaped power shimmered, thick as honey, waiting to be wielded. Kieran's jaw dropped.
Who are you?
Ajay tilted her head, a slow, indulgent smile stretching her lips.
You don't recognize me?
She let the silence stretch, savoring it. Then, with a hum, she added,
Tish, I suppose not all demigods are so easily corrupted by their human side.
Then he flickered. The crossroads bent reality around them, shifting, revealing. Ajay stood in her truth, power woven into every breath she took. But Karen didn't see her, not really. He now saw the old woman. The iron talon's taint had severed his sight, dimmed his god blood, left him blind to anything beyond what they had shaped him to believe.
Big Mama?
His confusion gone as soon as it appeared.
Stay out of this, old woman.
Ajay's chuckle was slow, warm, knowing. The kind of sound that made men reconsider their choices before it was too late.
Old?
She gestured to herself.
Boy, I have been reborn more times than your fragile soul could comprehend, but it seems this new world has made you forget.
She exhaled, and for a single blistering moment, the crossroads bent around her presence. Not with wind, not with lightning, but with a force that spoke of full bellies and laughter, of home-cooked meals, of ancient power that didn't need to rage to be felt. Chapter 17. I already knew. Ajay wasn't here to fight Karen's lightning. She was here to consume the corruption inside of him and spit out the bones. But I couldn't move. I tried. I forced my fingers to curl into fists, my muscles to obey, but I knew something was wrong. I closed my eyes, searching for my center, my true power. It had always burned, always crackled, surged, stormed. This wasn't fire, it was something else. It coiled, twisted, slipped beyond my reach. Lightning lived inside my veins, but now it hesitated, bent at an angle I couldn't control. Karen had infected me, well, the Iron Talon had, and as I struggled to recover, my son and daughter stood across from each other, ready to destroy each other. I needed to move, but I couldn't. I forced my eyes open just as Karen's stance shifted. Ajay wasn't fazed. She wasn't afraid. She watched him like a woman who had already seen the outcome of this battle. Karen was raging. The silence stretched, thick as honey, slow as the pull of time itself. Karen's fingers twitched. The red lightning curling in his palm flared hotter. Ajay just tilted her head, patient, unbothered.
What's wrong, little brother?
Ajay asked, her voice warm, almost teasing.
You wanted attention. You've got it.
His jaw clenched. His stance widened.
I don't need your attention.
His palm snapped forward. The moment Karen struck, the crossroads itself tightened, the air thickening like a slow boiling gumbo. His lightning should have cracked the sky, should have split Ajay in half. Instead, it just stopped, suspended in the air, a single inch from her skin. Karen's breath hitched. Ajay never even blinked. The scent of cinnamon deepened, rich, spicy. The sharp tang of ozone faded under it. Karen exhaled, and suddenly, breathing wasn't easy. Not choking, not suffocating, just slow. Like every breath had to push through something thicker than air. Ajay, I tried to speak, but my voice was too hoarse. Stop, don't do this. You know what happens to you when you eat corruption. Karen's muscles burned, not from exertion, but from stillness. His body felt heavy, weighted down by something you could tell he didn't understand. He said,
What?
Ajay smiled, small, knowing.
You've been running too hot, little brother.
Her voice softened, like a big sister scolding a reckless younger sibling.
Someone had to turn the heat down before you burned yourself out.
The lightning that should have torn her apart curled backward, recoiled like a scolded child. Kieran stumbled. His own energy pushed against him. The force sent him back a step, just one. But one was enough. Ajay still hadn't moved, still hadn't lifted a single hand. A soft, amused hum slipped through the breach. The sovereign said, voice dripping condescension.
Well, that was unexpected. And here I thought Big Mama was just an old cook.
Ajay still hadn't moved. Karen still couldn't breathe right. He started gasping for air. "No, Ajay," I screamed, thanking the heavens that I finally could sit up. The Sovereign's voice piped in and said,
"It seems I underestimated you, old lady."
Ajay smirked, the gold rings in her hair glinting.
"You wouldn't be the first."
"No, I wouldn't."
A pause, a shift in the Sovereign's tone, curiosity, calculation.
"That I won't be the last."
"Stop it. Don't go any closer to him. You know what could happen." I clenched my fists. My storm trembled around me, resisting. Ajay's power released him. Karen caught his breath but recovered. He stood with his jaw locked, his power surging for another strike. Tanika's voice broke through the noise, faint, but there.
Great Mother, Karen, Big Mama, please.
I whipped my head toward the breach. Tanika was flickering in and out of sight, her body twisting and turning, the sigil above her counting down. 40 minutes. I had to stop this, but where did I strike first? Should I stop Ajay and Karen or save Tanika? If I focused on my adopted children, then Tanika might be lost. If I focused on Tanika, I might lose both of my children, who would cross the point of no return. And I knew Ajay. If pushed, she would eat all of Karen's corruption, even if it killed him. But unlike me, Ajay was half human. Killing Shango's son wouldn't just stain her soul, it would bring his wrath down on her, and even I couldn't save her. The emotional consequence of this moment would haunt me either way. Chapter 18. The crossroads shuddered, not from the storm, not from the breach, but from Ajay. Karen staggered. His stance faltered for the first time, his breathing too shallow, too fast. His power coiled around him, unstable. And Ajay? She reached into his center, past the lightning, past the storm, past what was left of his divine spark, and gripped something else. Something planted inside him. Kieran choked, his hands clawing at his own chest as if trying to stop her.
What the? What?
His voice cracked. Ajay ripped a part free. A sigil, a twisting dark brand, burned between her fingers, twitching like a living thing. The moment it left Kiran's body, he dropped to his knees. The sigil continued moving in her grasp, dark tendrils thrashing, searching for something, someone to latch onto. Ajay watched it, head tilting slightly, not afraid, not hesitant, just studying. Then she exhaled, a slow, deliberate breath, and opened her mouth. Not wide, not grotesque, just enough for the shadows to unravel, twisting toward her lips like embers pulled into a flame. She took it in, not as hunger, not as destruction, but as release, a cleansing. The sigil flickered, moving, shrinking, then it was gone. Ajay closed her eyes, let the remnant settle inside her, then whispered a single phrase so soft I almost missed it.
"You don't belong here."
And I felt the shift in the air. The weight pressing against my storm eased but didn't vanish. The damage was still done, but my storm wasn't hesitating anymore. It was unraveling. The breach trembled, surging, expanding. The crossroads wouldn't hold. Not like this. Not with my power bent. Not with Kieran compromised and Ajay occupied with cleansing his corruption. The only way to stop it? Shut it all down. But shutting it down meant my breath caught. Tanika. I called out to her through our psychic link, and it worked. Her voice came soft through the storm.
Great Mother.
I whipped my head toward the breach. She was flickering in and out of sight, her body twisting, caught between worlds. The sigil above her counting down. No, not anymore. The crossroads wouldn't last that long without a reset. I had minutes, maybe seconds, and she knew. Tanika's eyes locked onto mine, steady, resolute. She didn't beg, didn't scream, didn't ask me to save her. She just looked at me and knew. She made the choice for me.
Do it, Great Mother. Save us all.
A pause, a breath.
Tell Karen I love him.
I shook my head. My throat burned. No, I can't.
Yes, you can.
Her voice was so sure, so gentle, a priestess to the end. The sigil above her flared, the breach twisted, hungry. I had seconds. I couldn't save her, but I could stop this. I could make it mean something. I had to. I slammed my power into the crossroads. The breach shrieked. The sigil above Tanika collapsed. Her image shuddered. And then she was gone. The barrier sealed shut. The crossroads stood. The iron talon couldn't break through, not anymore. Not for now, but at what cost? The wind faded, the storm dimmed, the breach vanished. Tanika was gone. Ajay studied Kieran's soul, considering a deeper cleansing. Kieran still knelt in the dirt, breathing ragged and uncertain. And me? I stood in the wreckage of my own storm, knowing I had lost them all. Episode 6, Chapter 19. The air was wrong, too still, too thick. The kind of silence that didn't belong in a place where spirits whispered, wind howled, and the storm always churned in my blood. Then the banging started. I turned toward the edges of the crossroads, the walls. The dead were trapped. I could hear them, screaming, wailing, slamming their fists against the barriers of the realm, clawing to get in. The crossroads had never shut its doors completely before. It wasn't meant to. The cycle of death and rebirth was breaking, splintering like glass under pressure. The air pressed against me, thick with unrest. My storm twitched under my skin. I lifted my hand, calling the wind, and nothing happened. My breath hitched. Then the crossroads turned on Ajay. The shift was instant, violent. The air itself thickened, twisting with a force that was not my own. The ground beneath us groaned, fissures of golden light splintering like fractured bone. Ajay grunted, her legs locking as the wind slammed into her, dragging her backward. I staggered toward her, instincts flaring. This wasn't right. The crossroads had always been uneasy with Ajay, always. But I had tempered that before, forced it to accept her presence. Now it refused her. Ajay! I lunged, fingers locking around her arm. Her skin burned against mine, heat rising where our energies met. Ajay's body trembled, her breath ragged.
I can't.
Her voice was rough, strained.
The crossroads don't want me here.
Don't want you? The words hit like a knife. Ajay had never belonged here. She wasn't stormborn, wasn't tied to the flow of death and rebirth like I was. The crossroads had always tolerated her, but only because I made it so. And now I couldn't. My grip tightened. You belong here because I say you do. Ajay grimaced.
Then say it louder.
I tried. I tried to bend the crossroads to my will like I always had, to command it to release her, but the words felt hollow. Something else was speaking through the realm now. I planted my feet, pulling against the force that wrenched her toward the boundary. The crossroads pulsed, an unnatural throb thick with rejection. The scent of ozone and decay flooded my senses, sharp and rotting all at once. This wasn't just the realm enforcing its natural order. It was purging her. Hold on. Her gaze locked onto mine, dark with something deeper than fear, a knowing, a truth. Then the force ripped her from my grasp. Ajay! She flung back, her body swallowed by a golden rift, the edges writhing like torn flesh. As she was hurled from my domain, her final cry cut through the chaos.
Great Mother, Kieran's corruption is still inside you, and inside him too.
Then she was gone. The crossroads shuddered, and I felt it, the sickness twisting through my sacred space, turning against me. I knew. I hoped. Somewhere in the human world, Ajay would land, gasping for breath. But she was beyond my reach now. I couldn't call her back. I couldn't override the will of my own domain. Not just a rejection, a purge, and I could be next. I pressed a shaking hand to my chest. My power felt wrong, twisted. Kieran's lightning had done something to me. I could feel it, deep in my storm, moving in a way I didn't understand yet. I took a breath, and that's when Kieran woke up. He sat up fast, gasping for breath, disoriented, shaking. For a moment, he was just a man mourning a woman he loved but couldn't save. Then he turned his head and saw me. His eyes locked onto mine, and everything changed. Chapter 20.
You let her go.
Karen's voice cracked, like a fault line splitting under pressure. I turned to face him, bracing for the storm, but it was already too late. The fury was there in his stance, in his shaking hands, in the way his breath heaved like he was barely holding himself together. Karen rose to his feet, fists clenched at his sides, eyes shining like lightning about to strike.
You felt her.
His voice wavered, but the accusation hit like a blade.
You knew she was still in there.
I held my ground. Karen!
Don't.
The word came sharp, jagged.
You hesitated before you sealed the crossroads. You knew she would die.
I exhaled, slowly. Because he wasn't wrong, but he didn't know that I had felt her life unraveling in my hands, didn't know that I heard her last breath before the breach swallowed her whole, didn't know that she chose it. But I had known. I had pressed my power into the crossroads and let the storm take her anyway. I swallowed, throat tight. I didn't want it to happen. Karen laughed, but it was the sound of life breaking apart.
That's not the same as not knowing.
The truth settled between us, heavy, suffocating.
You could have fought for her, like I would have,
he said. I stiffened. The air around me crackled with the weight of everything I wasn't saying. I couldn't make the same mistake you did. Karen's breath hitched, his whole body flinching like I'd struck him. Good. Let him feel it. Because it was true. He chose one life over the world. I chose the world over one life. And it cost me. It cost me everything. His voice dropped, hoarse.
I loved her.
I shut my eyes. I know. A breath, a pause. I forced the words out. And she told me to tell you she loved you. Silence. Karen's chest rose and fell, breath uneven. His fist trembled, but he didn't speak. I could see it. The moment the words cut through his rage and straight into the grief waiting beneath it. I could have lied to him, told him I didn't know, let him hate me instead of facing this pain. But I wasn't him, and I would not carry this lie. Not when Tanika had sacrificed herself and already carried everything else. But it wasn't enough. He was past listening.
You could have saved her. You chose not to.
The storm inside me cracked wide open. Lightning licked across my skin, erratic, uncontrolled. The wind surged, wild and wrong, pushing against me instead of bending to my will. Karen's voice was a roar, but it barely reached me now, because something else was speaking. The ground trembled, and then the whispers started, soft, skittering, just behind my ear, a sound like 1,000 voices inhaling at once. I flinched, my breath hitched. Not words, not at first. A scraping, like wind pushing through spaces too tight to hold it. Then, voices shredded, overlapping, tangled, some urgent, some pleading, some screaming, some laughing. My vision blurred at the edges, as if the very air around me was folding in. The scent of mildew and rot curled inside my lungs, thick and choking. I swallowed and tasted iron, blood, but I hadn't been hit. I clenched my fists, nails biting into my palms, just to feel something real. Kieran was still speaking, but I could barely hear him now. The whispers pulled at me, curling inside my ribs like hooks. The wind turned against me. The crossroads were inside me, inside my mind. I pressed my fingers to my temple, trying to clear the static, and the crossroads spoke. It said,
"She's hidden."
I froze. I closed my eyes, took a breath, and forced myself to listen with my entire heart. The voices crackled through me, breaking apart and reforming until one rose above the others. Soft, strained, familiar.
Tanika.
The word landed in my mind like a weight, like a stone thrown into still water, rippling outward through my ribs, my spine, my blood. I staggered back. What? My own voice sounded distant, as if I stood outside myself. Silence. But I felt the name. The crossroads wasn't repeating itself. It was pushing it, urgent, heavy, like a weight pressing against my chest, squeezing. This had never happened before. I had never spoken to the crossroads, and it had never spoken to me, but now it had. And it had only one thing to say.
Tanika.
The walls within the crossroads trembled. Kieran stepped back.
What's happening?
I didn't answer. I was already turning, searching. Tanika wasn't gone. She was inside the liminal space within the wall, the in-between. The crossroads didn't kill her. It was protecting her. The realization hit like a lightning strike, cutting through the storm inside me. Chapter 21. Isabel Fontaine Wellington.
The dark gate breathes. It exhales in the stench of iron, mildew, and rotting hope. I walk the corridor in measured, deliberate steps. Let them hear me coming. Let them know. The walls here are damp with old sweat, with prayers that went unanswered, with blood spilled in secret. The air is thick, heavy, pressing against my skin, like unseen hands. Let them beg. Let them cry out for the goddess they think is listening. It will make their suffering more poetic when they finally understand the truth. I pass the first cell. The man inside twitches at my presence, lifting his head. His eyes are wrong, pupils blown wide, mouth moving without sound. The guards tell me he whispers to things that aren't there. Good. That means the experiments are working. I don't stop for him. I don't stop for the ones who shrink into the corners of their cells, the ones who stare as if their minds have already left their bodies. But I do stop for the ones who pray.
Great Mother Oya, please, save me.
The woman's voice is weak. She is thin, ragged, broken. Her fingers grip the bars, knuckles white. I smile. Oh, this is my favorite part. I lean in, just close enough that she can see the amusement in my eyes. Your bitch goddess isn't listening. The prisoner stiffens. I tilt my head, watching her hope flicker, watching her faith begin to shake. I press my fingers to my chest, to the veilstone amulet that is warm against my skin, pulsing like a second heartbeat. You still don't understand, do you? I said, voice smooth, almost gentle. Oya never cared about you. She never will. The woman's breath catches in her throat. I could leave it there, but why waste an opportunity? I lean closer, voice dropping. She's dying. I made sure of it. The prisoner gasps, shaking her head.
No, not possible.
A smile wider. Yes, I've seen it. She's breaking, little by little. Soon, she'll be nothing. A small, sharp laugh escapes me as I pull back. The woman slumps against the bars, sobbing. I keep walking. The veilstone is still warm, too warm. It's never pulsed like this before. For decades, Oya's magic kept it weak, limited, a tool of glimpses and fragments. But now I can see. I press my fingers against it, closing my eyes. A flash, the storm-choked sky above the crossroads. Another Oya on her knees, clutching her chest, the storm flickering around her like a candle in the wind. She's falling apart. I exhale. Perfect. I move through the last corridor and step into the surveillance room where Winston is waiting. My husband, my partner, my foundation. His gaze lifts to mine. He knows. Oya thinks she's bested me. I smiled, slow and deliberate. She hasn't. Winston nods.
Then what do we do next?
I fold my hands on the table. Prepare the human bomb in the old warehouse. A pause. Then, a slow, dark smile spreads across his lips.
Yes, Sovereign.
I exhale, turning my gaze to the last visual of the crossroads before the feed went dark. Oya had played her part in this story for too long. Now, it was time to end her. My voice is quiet, almost amused. Let's bring the Storm Witch to her knees.
Episode 7, Chapter 22. The crossroads pulse beneath my feet, stretched too thin, like old fabric fraying at the seams. My body lurches, my vision bending in jagged, uneven pulses. The air thickens, heavy with wrongness. I reach for the wind, my storm, my essence, but it curls away, repulsed. My fingers grasp at empty air. And then he laughs. A slow, cruel chuckle slices through the growing static.
What's the matter, Great Mother? Feeling the consequences of your choices?
I don't need to look up to know the shape of the smirk curling across Kieran's face. His voice is light, almost amused, but the venom underneath is sharp enough to cut. He's been waiting for this. I grit my teeth, grounding myself against the trembling crossroads. But my body isn't cooperating. My storm is being stripped from me, piece by piece. I can barely stand. Kieran takes a step closer, too close.
Go ahead, reach for it again,
He said, coaxing, taunting.
See what happens.
I do. And it happens again. The wind flinches from my grasp. Kieran's grin widens.
Ah, so you do feel it.
I refuse to give him the satisfaction of a response. But he doesn't need one. He can see it all over me, the strain, the weakness, the way my own domain is turning against me. He said,
You thought the crossroads would always be yours to command, that no one could ever challenge you here. No consequences, no price to pay.
Stop it. The words slip from my lips, ragged, more breath than voice.
Well, what?
He tilts his head, playing with curiosity.
You'll strike me down? I don't think you have it in you right now.
He wants me to lash out, wants me to waste what little strength I have left. I steady my breath. I don't take the bait. But then it hits me. A flood of visions crashing into my skull like a lightning strike. Tanika again. She is barely alive, and I know soon she'll be twice dead. I see her in the in-between, surrounded by the clawing dead. Their fingers curl toward her, not to consume, but to pull. They reach, they grasp, desperate. They want to use her. She is both curse and salvation. Marked by the iron Talons' technological filaments, but still my priestess, still tied to the crossroads. And the dead, they want a way out. The realization turns my stomach. They are trying to make her a passage, a doorway into the crossroads. A surge of panic shoots through me. I try to reach her, but something stops me, thick, unyielding. The same technological force that corrupted Kieran's lightning that has burrowed into my ribs. Kieran is watching me too closely now. He can see the moment it clicks. His smirk sharpens.
Ah, there it is.
I exhale sharply, pushing through the wave of sickness rolling through my body. I don't have time for his games. My voice is hoarse, raw, but laced with the fury I refuse to let go of. You infected me with the Iron Talons' corruption. Kieran folds his arms lazily across his chest.
And what if I did?
Something inside me snaps. You have lost your way, son of Shango. The crossroads quake beneath my feet, mirroring my rage, and for just a fraction of a second, Kieran's smile falters. Not enough for anyone else to see, but I see it. I stagger forward, ignoring the way my knees threaten to buckle. I don't have the strength to deal with him, not yet. You don't understand the foolishness behind your actions, I said, my voice rough with exhaustion.
All I know is you will fall.
He leans in, voice thick with certainty.
And I will be there to watch it happen.
Chapter 23. The crossroads pushes the visions harder within my mind's eye. Tanika's breath rattles in my head. I scream against the weight pressing in on her. She doesn't have much time. I will not let her become a doorway. I will not let them use her. The winds shift. The crossroads trembles beneath my feet. The air shudders, thick with an energy I have not felt in centuries. A return, a cycle, a circle unbroken. My storm stirs, weak, flickering, not ready, not yet. I take a slow, deliberate breath. The sound is wrong, distorted, layered, as if more than one voice is speaking through me. I let the words fall like a hammer. Tanika is still alive. Kieran stiffens. His smirk vanishes. His entire body locks into place, as if the word strikes something deep. For the first time, he doesn't have an answer. He doesn't blink, doesn't move.
You're lying.
The words are instant, too instant. His voice cracks around the edges.
I watched her die. You let her die.
I step forward. I don't lie. He shakes his head as if physically rejecting my words.
No, you're manipulating me.
Then look me in the eyes, son. My voice is steady now, strong. Look at me. Kieran doesn't move. For the first time, I see his fear, not of me, but of the truth, of what it means if I'm right, of what he's done. His corrupted lightning curls around his hands. If you help me, we can still save her before it's too late, I said. The moment stretches between us, tense and trembling. Then Kieran moves, but I don't know if it's toward me or away, because the crossroads takes me. The moment my body hits the ground, the world fractures. My mind cracks apart, pulled through unseen threads of time. The voices that once whispered now commands.
The heart talisman must be used to fix. The heart talisman must be used to fix.
The ground beneath me trembles, then it is gone. I don't have time to resist. I am swallowed whole. I fall. I land in the forgotten, a fragment of the crossroads that hadn't been touched in centuries. The sky is not a sky. It is moving, turning. The winds scream, but it is not my storm. The planets, 9 of them, in place, in rhythm, turning, moving, spinning in synchronicity, a clock with no hands. A return, a cycle, a circle unbroken. The crossroads said slowly.
Before, you knew. You made it. When you were more.
I see her, the younger version of myself. She stands before me, her form cast in shifting light, half shadow, half memory. She speaks, but the voice is my own. I vow to guard the balance of this realm and Metronic City. If the crossroads is ever threatened to fall into chaos, I will do what is necessary to restore it. Her hands are open. The copper heart talisman waits in her grasp. It hums deep, thrumming like a second heartbeat. The last time the planets aligned, I made this. I reach. I take it. The weight of it presses against my chest like a crushing hand. My younger self holds the copper heart talisman in her hands. The talisman was never meant to be wielded lightly. It was a fail-safe, a tool meant to reset the balance when all other paths had failed, a tool of last resort, a weapon of sacrifice. The crossroads spoke.
Sankofa, go back, find what was left behind.
Its winds and weight tremble in my bones, in the echo of what I have forgotten. I let the memories take me. They drag me deeper, a cycle, a return, the planets turning, waiting. The storm inside me flickers. The command echoes in my chest. I let the memories take me, drag me deeper. I reach, I take it. The moment my fingers close around the talisman, the weight of it presses against my chest like a crushing hand. Waiting, knowing it has a price, a sacrifice, a death. I gasp as reality reforms around me. The copper heart talisman is clutched in my fist. I am back, but so is the iron talon's corruption inside my body. My veins burn. The filaments of the iron talon's technology slither deeper into my body. Chapter 24. I clutch the copper heart talisman, but my body rejects me. The crossroads pulse beneath me, not in recognition, but in resistance. A deep, aching hum ripples through the air, pressing against my skin like unseen hands, pushing me out. The wind stirs, low at first, then twists violent, erratic. I have commanded the storm for centuries. I am the storm, but not in this reality. Now it recoils. The winds that once bent to my will lash at me instead, cutting across my skin in 1,000 invisible slashes. The air thickens, resisting my breath, pressing into my lungs like dead weight. My lightning flickers, unstable, crackling weakly before sputtering out. It no longer matches my heartbeat. It no longer answers me. The crossroads shake beneath me, a deep, echoing warning. I know this feeling. I have seen it before. It is preparing to purge me, the way it had purged Ajay. The realization crashes over me like a bolt of lightning. Maybe I remembered the answer to fix this too late. Am I too far gone? Karen watches, his fingers twitching, the storm flickering around his hands. He steps forward, hesitates, then forces himself still. His face has changed. The arrogance, the smirk, it's gone. His gaze locks onto me, unreadable at first. Reluctance, horror.
That, you can fix this? How? Was it a trick?
He said, uncertain. His eyes move down to the copper heart talisman shaking in my grip. Requires a sacrifice. My voice shakes. My throat burns. My chest spasms. I will make it. I can barely breathe. The copper heart talisman pulses in my grip. I can feel it trying to steady me, anchor me, but I feel nothing except agony.
You can't even hold it,
Karen said, but there's something different in his voice. Calculating. A sharp pressure builds inside me, stretching tight beneath my ribs. Too tight. Too wrong. Then, pain. I hear the sickening crack before I feel it. My own ribs shatter beneath my touch, bones grinding together like a death rattle inside my chest. I try to stay upright, but my vision swims. I gasp. And then, blood. A sharp metallic tang floods my mouth, spilling over my lips before I vomit onto the crossroads. Thick red splatters against the cracked ground, steaming where it touches the ancient stone. The crossroads glitch. The world around me fractures, spinning in and out, dissolving into static like a corrupted memory. My body convulses, muscles seizing, limbs moving in unnatural rhythms. I reach for my storm. It does not reach back. The crossroads is beginning to purge me. Karen's voice is the last thing I hear before my world blacks out. He said,
It speaks to me. It tells me what I need to do to save her.
Chapter 25, Tanika Collins' Priestess.
The screaming never stops. It is inside me, twisting, pulling, unmaking. I can't breathe. I try to open my mouth to cry out, but the sound never comes. The air, if it is air, clogs my throat, thick with the scent of rot, old dust, and something metallic, like rusted iron left to bleed in the rain. I am trapped. No walls, no sky, no ground beneath my feet. Just cold, just them. I try to move, but hundreds of them press against my skin. Not flesh, not warm, cold, decayed, desperate. I am not alone. I was never alone. The spirits whisper in voices that are not voices. Too many, too loud, too close. I press my hands against my ears. It does nothing. They are inside me. They are clawing. They want something. They want me. I don't know how long I've been here. A minute? An hour? A century? Time doesn't move here. Or maybe I'm the one who isn't moving. My body is breaking apart. I can feel it unraveling at the edges. I can't remember my mama's voice. I try to hold on to it, but it's slipping through my fingers like water. What did she sound like? Soft? Sharp? Did she sing? The memories come in fragments. A smile. A scent. A flicker of warmth against my cheek. Gone. I can't remember what warmth feels like. I clutch my arms, trying to hold in the last of my body heat, but it is already gone. The ghosts press in. They breathe against my skin, except they don't breathe. They just take.
You are almost ready.
They whisper.
Almost, almost, almost.
I shake my head. No, I am not ready. I am not theirs. But I feel myself slipping. My name feels like a lie on my tongue. Who am I? Who was I before this? The hands press harder. Their whispers slither through my ribs. And then another voice. It is not theirs. It is stronger.
Priestess.
My lungs spasm. My spine jerks stiff.
Oya.
Her voice isn't here. Not really, but it lives inside me. It has always been there. I am hers. I was chosen. And then, like a bolt through my chest, I remember. I remember kneeling at the crossroads. I remember Oya's storm curling around me, lightning dancing across my skin, my heartbeat thrumming with the rhythm of the wind. I remember the words I spoke. I vow to guide the dead with honor. I vow to be a gatekeeper of the crossroads. I vow to protect the balance between the living and the lost. I chose this. This was my path. But now it's killing me. The spirits aren't just trying to take me. They are searching for something else, something inside me, something not theirs. I feel it woven through my bones, my blood, not ghost, not human, metal, iron talons filaments. They coil through my nerves, glistening black, pulsing like a heartbeat that isn't mine. The spirits shudder at the touch of it, but they don't stop. They want it. They want through it.
You are the door.
They whisper.
The key.
I shake my head, thrashing against their grip. No, I am not. I won't be. But the voices grow louder. Their fingers burrow deeper. I can feel them curling around the filaments. They are trying to pull it apart, trying to pull me apart. I open my mouth to scream, and then the world breaks. The blast comes from nowhere, a soundless wave, a pressure that tears through me like fire and ice. It isn't from here. It isn't from the in-between. It is from Matrenic City. The impact slams into my body, ripping through every nerve, setting my skin on fire from the inside. The ghosts recoil, screaming. I scream with them. The walls of this place rupture. The ground, the nothing beneath me, cracks apart. The voices shatter into static. My body lurches, weightless, falling. And as I plummet and the spirits clutch at me, I do the only thing I can. I cling to the only truth I have left. I am Tanika Simone Collins, priestess of Oya. I am the beloved of Kiran, son of Shango. His face flashes through my mind. My man, his eyes when he laughed. The gentleness of his hands. The promise we made beneath storm clouds.
I will always love you.
He had sworn.
Even in death, I will be there for you. We shall never be parted.
The memory burns brighter than the pain, a tether to who I am, to what we were. And I decide, I will not be their doorway. I scream.
Episode 8, Chapter 26. My eyes popped open as I woke up from the blackout. My body still wouldn't move. The iron talons filaments pulsed inside me, coiled deep in my ribs, winding tighter around my bones like invasive vines. The crossroads itself was rejecting me, pressing against my skin like an unseen weight, pushing me out. My own storm, my essence, my birthright, no longer answered me. The air hung heavy, swollen with the metallic stench of blood and burned ozone. My lungs seized, fighting for breath against the thick static crowding the air. I could taste the remnants of the unnatural charred souls lingering like smoke in my mouth. The weight of 1,000 voices pressed against my skull, their grief raw and unfinished. Not just deaths, a mass release, sudden, violent. Metronic City had been torn through, shattering bodies before their souls could even process they were gone. My stomach twisted. This was a slaughter. The crossroads groaned beneath me, rejecting the abnormal shift. The liminal wall held, but barely. Cracks spiderweb through its surface, glowing with unstable light. It wasn't breaking all at once. It was unraveling slowly, like the world itself was being peeled apart. And then I felt it. A presence, but not a singular one. A flood of severed souls, screaming, scorched, still burning at the edges. Not crossing over, but pressed like a tide against the thinned wall, clawing for space that no longer existed. The crossroads shuddered. The liminal wall groaned under the strain, fractures webbing out like cracks in ancient glass, its surface glowing with an unstable, pulsing light. The sound was unbearable. A low, grinding resonance, followed by a slow, splintering crack, like the sky itself was trying to hold together, as if reality was trying not to break. This wasn't just death, it was devastation, a soul-ripping detonation, an annihilation reverberating like a tornado through the crossroads. A bootstep crunched beside me, the air shifted. Kieran. I forced my head up, vision still swimming. He stood above me, his shirt torn, blood smeared down his arms, dark lightning coiling weakly around his fingers. His father's gift, but warped now, intertwined with the same corruption choking the crossroads. And yet, something in his stance was different. I knew Kieran too well. The smirks, the reckless bravado, the half-hearted rage masking something deeper. But this? His face was too still. The storm that always raged behind his eyes was quieter now, too quiet. The air around him crackled, not just with lightning, but with the warping pressure of a wound not yet closed. Behind him, the liminal wall shimmered, stressed and splintered. Faint lines of distortion running like tension cracks across glass stretched too thin. The surface pulsed with ghostlight. Every fracture bleeding energy, a slow unraveling of reality like a seam coming undone. His body looked like he had walked through fire. Burn patterns on his clothes, seared fabric. But the wounds weren't only from flames. They were from the shockwave, both physical and spiritual. A force had burned him from the inside out. Another tremor hit, and then Tanika's breath, sharp and fading, echoed through my skull. She was slipping. I clenched my fists, trying to push past the filaments locking my body down. I reached for my storm, and it recoiled from me again. I sucked in a sharp breath, my voice raw with fury. We have to save her or He cut me off.
The talisman. It was never meant for you.
Not a question. A realization. His fingers flexed at his sides, his storm faltering, flickering. The words stopped me cold. I saw it in his eyes, the moment he had already made his choice. My voice was too weak as I said, "Don't." The copper heart talisman pulsed against my palm, still hot from the last of my power, its glow flickering like dying storms. I still had a chance, but he moved first. His hand shot out, wrenching the talisman from my grasp. I gasped, the sudden loss knocking the air from my lungs. My storm stuttered inside me. The crossroads groaned. Kieran's voice was steady, steadier than I'd ever heard it.
You were never meant to bear this burden, Great Mother. It should be me. I let my guard down. I should have known, should have seen it coming. One person, that's all it took. Someone close, someone I trusted. And because of that, they took Tanika. Because of me, she suffered. Because of me, she is dying now. And because of me, I have to make this right.
His grip tightened around the talisman. It pulsed in his grasp, like it had always been waiting for him. I shoved forward, struggling against the unseen force locking my limbs down. "Stop!" He pressed the copper heart against his own chest. A soundless explosion cracked through the crossroads. The ground rippled beneath me. The scent of burning ozone flooded the air, thick and suffocating. Kieran's body jerked, his back arching, his mouth opening in a silent scream.
Tell Tanika. Tell her I kept my promise.
His body erupted into light. Chapter 27. The copper heart talisman absorbed him. A bolt of pure energy lashed out, not as a weapon, but as a tether, shooting through the in-between, slamming into Tanika's fading form. And then, Kieran was gone. I screamed. I watched the last of his essence stream into Tanika, lightning curling into her skin, wrapping around her like an embrace, a tether, a promise. He would always be there for her, even in death. I didn't rise right away. The air shook, static heavy, and the ground split open beneath me, not in collapse, but in resistance. The crossroads groaned. The liminal wall was still cracking, not a clean shatter, but a slow, agonizing split, the realm trying to hold when everything inside it was still breaking. It pulsed around me like a warning, reality itself rejecting the wrongness still infecting its bones. It wasn't rejecting me, not fully. It was rejecting the Iron Talon's corruption still inside me. Kieran had saved Tanika, and now she was safe from true death. But her body, still limp, was plummeting, falling, pulled by the breach's gravity toward the ground below. The breach was open, the crossroads was breaking, and I was the only one left to stop it. I forced myself to my knees, bones leaden, power still locked inside me. And then I looked up. Time stopped. Above me, the 9 planets aligned in perfect rhythm, turning, moving, spinning in synchronicity. The words left my lips in a whisper. A return, a cycle, a circle unbroken. The moment stood still, a memory of my original selection. It was not a summons. It was an invitation, I recalled. The wind did not rise. The storm did not come for me, because I had not chosen. And then a voice stirred inside me, my voice, and yet not mine. The crossroads spoke.
You do not fix, you do not heal, you do not hold, you break, you change, you ride the storm.
I exhaled, slowly, completely, and I let go. The filaments of the Iron Talon's corruption still coiled inside me, tangled through my ribs. But I stepped out of them, the weight pressing against my skin, the rejection, the burden of a goddess trying to be something she was never meant to be. I stepped out of that too, lightning curled beneath my fingertips. Not pulled, not granted, it answered because it was mine. I turned my gaze to the breach. The crossroads was broken and damaged. But it wasn't about fixing it. It was about reclaiming it. I raised my hands, palms open, power thrumming beneath my skin. My voice was steady, unshaken, unyielding. I vowed to protect the balance of this realm and Metronic City. If the crossroads is ever threatened, I will do what is necessary to restore it. I vow not as a shield, but as the storm. I vow not to hold, but to break and rebuild. I vow to be the reckoning when justice is denied, and the wind that carries the lost. I am Oya. I am the storm. I am the divine protector. Time started up again, and the crossroads connected to me. My storm cloud caught Tanika before she hit the ground. The liminal wall, fraying, stretched too thin, ready to collapse, snapped back into place. The storm surged, roaring back, not as power regained, but as power claimed. I turned. The Iron Talons technology still pulsed in the distance. The last tendrils of corruption burrowed deep into the crossroads like rust beneath the skin. My storm saw it, recognized it. It would not remain, and neither would the Fontaine descendant. I took a step forward. The ground beneath me trembled, the fractured liminal wall shimmering ahead, its surface warped, flickering like heat haze stretched too thin. I didn't stop it. I let it break as I stepped through the earth plane into Metronic City. The old barrier shattered behind me like glass finally giving way. The storm moved with me, rolling into Metronic City like a pulse of divine vengeance. The sky cracked open above me, lightning crawling across the heavens, answering my presence with fury. I tore through the sky and descended upon their lair, the dark gate hidden beneath Metronic City's jail. The first bolt obliterated their machines, circuits frying, filaments snapping like brittle bone. The second seared through the Veilstone Core lab, crushing the last remnants of their spying power beneath the weight of my storm. And still, I had not even raised my hand. I did not need to. I was no longer just a protector of the crossroads. I was the reckoning they never saw coming. I was divine justice. I was the judge, the jury, and the executioner. Chapter 28. Isabel Fontaine Wellington.
The Veilstone jeweled necklace I wore screamed. I had never heard it make that sound before, not in all my years, not in all my family's rituals. The ancient, thrumming core of our power was breaking. This wasn't possible. I forced myself upright, ignoring the tremors beneath my feet. The chamber was collapsing. My triumph, my legacy, unraveling. I studied the computer monitor over Winston's shoulder. Is it the residual from the bomb shaking up? It can't be. That's miles away. He typed, and then said,
The bomb detonated. The Veilstone's frequency spiked for precisely 7 minutes. The crossroads should have fallen.
Should have. My fingers curled into a fist. And? His lips parted, his voice carrying the weight of a truth I refused to hear.
Oya's still alive and headed this way.
I stilled. No! The Veilstone jewel pulsed and burned like an accusation. I reached for it, forcing my mind through the web of energy, trying to see. I saw her. Oya. Standing. The breath in my lungs turned to fire. She was supposed to fall. Winston exhaled, rubbing his jaw. He got up and started to collect his things.
She didn't.
I turned on him. You would abandon me now. His gaze was cold, calculating. He said,
The Iron Talon will need leadership after this. One of us must survive.
For the first time, I was speechless. He had never planned to stand beside me. I had been a means to an end, power, control, vengeance, just like I had used him. The Veilstone wailed again, energy spiking. I clenched my fists, rage and desperation flooding me.
You coward! You would run while everything we built!
Winston turned his back. He turned his damn back. A snarl ripped from me. I would not let him leave. I reached for the Veilstone's power, for something to strike him down. And then, the storm arrived. I had never seen a goddess before. Not truly. Not like this. Oya stepped through the storm. She did not look at Winston. She did not look at the Veilstone. She looked at me with wrath in her eyes. The breath left my lungs. The air hummed with something ancient, something that should have belonged to me. She should be dead. How the hell had she survived? I had spent my entire life preparing for this moment, sharpening myself into something unstoppable. Yet when she stepped forward, I was the one who moved back. A whisper crawled into my mind, one I refused to acknowledge. She is everything you wanted to be. I swallowed the thought, forced my mind to calculate. The Veilstone still pulsed beneath my fingers, power leaking through the cracks. If I could bend it back toward me, if I could reach it before Oya struck, I could still take her place. I lunged. I never saw the strike. The storm moved before she did. Lightning carved through the air, curling toward Winston in a flash of white-hot fury. He turned just in time to see it, just in time to understand. For the first time, his voice cracked.
Isabel, save me.
The bolt erased him. No body, no final scream, no remnants of his existence. 1 second he stood, and the next, he never had. I choked back a breath. I had thought I understood power. I had never understood anything. The storm moved again. This time, it was for me. I stumbled back.
Wait, no!
Oya raised her hand. The Veilstone flared violently at her presence, its glow pulsing, cracking like it knew the storm had come for it. Hairline fractures spidered through the gem against my skin, the power inside it trembling. It was afraid. And in that moment, so was I. I gripped the Veilstone and tried to connect to the only power left, the only thing that could still save me. The energy spiked. The Veilstone, my birthright, my family's legacy turned on me. I felt the pull before I could stop it. Not light, not a void, something worse. Something that dragged, that tore. The Veilstone wailed as it collapsed, and the energy wrapped around me, consuming me, drowning me in its call. I thrashed, fought, screamed. I had been meant for more. I had been meant to take her place. The crossroads should have been mine. This was not how it was supposed to end. Oya watched. No mercy in her gaze, no words on her lips. Her silence was judgment. Her presence was execution. The storm was already moving past me. And then, I was gone. The last thing I heard, before the Veilstone swallowed me whole, was my own voice. It did not come from my mouth. It came from within the swallowing storm. A whisper. A promise. This isn't over. My blood still carries the Veilstone's curse. My daughter Victoria will avenge me. The world snapped shut. Darkness.
The epilogue. The air in the crossroads was thick with the scent of cinnamon and slow-cooked ribs, the smoke curling through the night like the remnants of an old prayer. Ajay had been cooking again. I stood on my sacred platform, looking out over Metronic City, the glow of its skyline stretching into the distance like embers in a fire. The city had changed. I had changed. Not weakened, never that. But something had been broken open inside me. Not by gods, not by spirits, by humans. I had once believed they could never touch the divine, that the crossroads was untouchable, that I was untouchable. But they turned the dead into weapons. They brought war to the gods, and I had let it happen because I underestimated them. A gust of wind stirred around me, lifting my long locks, carrying the faint aroma of dark chocolate and molasses. Ajay had appeared in the crossroads, standing behind me, a plate in hand.
You're staring like you can fix it with your mind,
she said, holding out a slice of warm sweet potato pie. The flaky crust crumbled slightly at the edges, the filling smooth and rich, comfort in its simplest form. I took the plate without speaking. The first bite melted on my tongue, sweet, spiced, familiar. Ajay's cooking had always been a kind of magic, an anchor that tied her to the human realm. She didn't push for words, just waited. Finally, I exhaled. I was caught unprepared. Her silence was agreement enough. Tanika had nearly been lost. Karen had paid the price. Winston and Isabel were gone, but the Iron Talon was still out there, lurking beneath the surface. I could still feel their shadow pressing against the edges of the city. Ajay sighed, settling onto a bench near her ever-burning fire pit. She moved easily through the crossroads now, no longer bound by its old restrictions, because I had reclaimed my power.
You were caught off guard once,
she said, breaking into my thoughts, her voice steady, measured.
But you don't have to be again.
I turned, finally looking at her. Tanika is changed. Ajay nodded, her gaze slipping toward the young woman sleeping on a bed of storm clouds in the dim glow of the crossroads. Tanika had barely moved since I brought her here. The copper heart talisman glowed softly against her chest, pulsing in rhythm with her breath. But it was more than that. Ajay reached out, fingertips brushing the air around Tanika, as if reading the current of her soul.
She's light,
Ajay said.
Love, but there's something else now, too.
I said, vengeance. Ajay nodded, twice dead. Once sacrificed, once saved. A mortal should not be able to remain in the crossroads this long. But Tanika's soul no longer belonged to just one world. Karen had tethered her to the in-between. The dead had nearly claimed her, and she had fought her way back. But Tanika was no longer just a priestess. She was something new.
She needs rest,
Ajay said softly, smoothing the blanket over Tanika's shoulders. Her voice dropped, reverent, like she was speaking to something ancient.
But one day, she'll wake up, and when she does, she'll want to fight.
She paused, her hand hovering just above Tanika's brow.
She can stay with me then, at the rib shack. I'll keep her safe, feed her soul back into her bones slow and steady.
Ajay looked at me, eyes shimmering with something more than firelight.
We got the same rhythm, her and me. She just don't know it yet.
She smiled faintly, a weary thing touched with awe.
Might take years, human ones anyway. But when she rises, she won't just be the priestess you remember.
She gently tucked the blanket higher.
She'll be something the world don't have a name for yet.
I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of everything we had lost, everything we had won. I saw the city stretching beneath me, the shadows moving at its edges. Winston had been right about one thing. The Iron Talon would need leadership after this. Someone would rise to take their place, and I would not be caught off guard again. The wind stirred around me, carrying the distant sounds of metronyx moving beneath the night. Sirens wailing, footsteps echoing in alleyways, the low hum of city life continuing. I needed an arm of justice, a sentinel, a shield between the people and the chaos lurking beneath the city's surface. A name formed in my mind before I even spoke it. Tia Jackson. Ajay said.
She's been through hell and came out harder. Tough girl, stubborn too.
She'll do. I nodded, the decision settling into place. Ajay grinned.
She don't even know what's about to hit her.
She will. I took another bite of pie, chewing slowly, thinking, and I'll make sure she's ready. Ajay stood, stretching like an old woman, though we both knew she wasn't.
Then it's settled.
Metronix would not go unguarded. Tanika would wake one day, shaped by death, but still carrying the love and light that made her who she was. And Tia Jackson, she would be the fists of fury and shield of this city, my sentinel, my vigilante in the dark. I looked up, watching the stars shift above us, watching the liminal wall settle once more into place. This time, I would be ready. This time, I would strike first. The end. About the author. Alicia McCalla is an award-winning author who fearlessly champions diversity and representation in literature. Drawing from her experiences as a decorated Marine Corps veteran, school librarian, and activist for diversity in speculative fiction, Alicia crafts electrifying tales featuring bold, powerful Black women as lead characters, shattering stereotypes and redefining the action thriller genre. With a masterful blend of superhero fiction, urban fantasy, Afrofuturism, and paranormal women's fiction, Alicia's stories pulse with thrilling suspense, otherworldly intrigue, and unapologetic Black girl magic.